Welcome to Sideline Sports, where we give you an up-close and personal look at the teams, coaches, and athletes that make up the South Sound. Here's your host, Jeff Slakey.
Hello and welcome to Sideline Sports. This week a busy one. Let's get going. Shelton Cross Country shines at home meet. Shelton Volleyball hosts Yelm, and the High Climbers battle Yelm on the gridiron. The game of the week, it's North Mason Football hosting Port Angeles.
This portion is being brought to you in part by
Mason General Hospital, united community, empowered people, exceptional health. It was the first home meet of the season for Shelton Cross Country at Lake Isabella State Park.
Shelton Cross Country hosted 5 schools Wednesday afternoon for a 2-mile South Sound Conference meet at Lake Isabella State Park. Shelton's boys team had 6 runners finish in the top 20 on their way to a second-place team finish. The High Climbers were led by junior Will Johnson, finishing second overall with a time of 10 minutes and 40 seconds. Adna High School's Austin Apperson placed first overall with a time of 10 minutes and 16 seconds. Johnson, a 2-time state participant for Shelton, likes the challenge of racing against top runners like Adna's Austin Apperson.
Yeah, I've raced him probably almost 10 times now, and all the way from freshman to this junior year. So he's a good guy to race and really nice, and he's fast too, so that's always good.
On the girls' side, Shelton placed 5th overall with 2 runners placing in the top 20. High climber freshman Aiden Gregg took 2nd overall with a time of 13 minutes and 32 seconds, behind only Natalie Cornwall of Timberline. Overall, Gregg was happy with her performance on a short but challenging course.
I thought I did pretty good. The last little bit, the hill, like right there, is pretty hard, but it's easy to push yourself up it.
The High Climbers are back in action racing the Wenatchee Invitational September 23rd. I'm Sean Wells for Fiber One Sports.
Sideline Sports is being brought to you in part by
The Gillis Auto Center. At Gillis, you're covered forever. A big crowd was on hand for Shelton Volleyball hosting Yelm in conference play.
The Shelton High Climbers and Yelm Tornadoes were looking for their first conference wins of the season Thursday night at the Mini Dome. The High Climbers jumped out to a big 15-6 lead in the first set, taking the game 25-11. The High Climbers scored the first 5 points of the second set on their way to a 25-14 victory. Shelton would go on to sweep the Tornadoes, dominating the third set with a final score of 25-9. The High Climbers will go for back-to-back conference victories when they host Central Kitsap Tuesday night. Yelm will look for their first win hosting North Thurston on Monday. I'm Sean Wells for Fiber One Sports.
Sideline Sports is being brought to you in part by
It was a packed house at High Climber Stadium for Shelton's conference opener versus the Tornadoes.
A big crowd was on hand at High Climber Stadium Friday night with Shelton football hosting Yelm. It was the first conference game of the season for both teams, with Shelton looking for their first victory. After a couple early turnovers, James Palmer put the Tornadoes on the board first, scoring on a 3-yard run. Alex Morales would make it 14-0 Yelm, scoring on a 4-yard run just 4 minutes later. Troy Goodwin would then respond for the High Climbers with a 3-yard touchdown run, cutting the deficit to 14-6. Yelm would then pick up the pace offensively, scoring 3 touchdowns in the final 5 minutes of the half, taking a 35-6 lead in the halftime. Yelm would add 3 more scores in the second half, while Shelton's Troy Goodwin found the end zone one more time as Yelm knocked off the High Climbers 56-14. Goodwin finished with 51 yards rushing and a touchdown on 14 carries, while also catching a touchdown pass for Shelton. Yelm quarterback Kyle Robinson finished with 242 passing yards with 2 touchdowns, while running back James Palmer recorded over 100 yards rushing with 3 touchdowns. The High Climbers are back in conference play on the road at Peninsula on Friday. I'm Sean Wells for Fiber One Sports.
Last week's scores in football: North Mason 28, Kingston 6, Timberline 30, Capital 13, Central Kitsap 28, North Thurston 7. In soccer, Capital 5, Shelton 0, Timberline 3, Yelm 1, Tumwater 1, and North Mason 0. In volleyball, North Mason 3, Olympic 0, Gig Harbor 3, Timberline 0, and Capital 3, North Thurston 0. Our game of the week is North Mason football hosting Port Angeles. The Bulldogs will look to go 4-0 on the season, coming off a big 28-6 win over Kingston. Dylan Tupelo was dominant on the ground for North Mason against Kingston, rushing for 135 yards and 2 touchdowns. Port Angeles sits at 1-2 off the season, coming off a 49-0 loss to North Kitsap. Upcoming schedule in football: Shelton's at Peninsula, Timberlines at Central Kitsap, and Capitals at North Thurston. In soccer, Shelton takes on Timberline, North Thurston travels to Yelm, and Capital versus Timberline. In volleyball, Capital versus Peninsula, North Thurston at Yelm, and Shelton heads to Timberline. This has been another presentation of Sideline Sports. I'm Jeff Slakey.